Hi and welcome back. So improving your gut health is certainly in the zeitgeist at the moment. Terms such as leaky gut are commonplace when it comes to talking about health and wellness. This new study shows that a small tweak to your cooking technique could reap great benefits when it comes to your gut microbiome. Enough waffling off me, let's jump into the presentation and let's see what this new study has got to offer. This is a review of a piece I read that was penned by Carly Casella, where she looks into two separate studies published in the Journal of Nutrition and the Journal Clinical Nutrition that investigated how a mix of certain spices improved one specific gut bacteria in the microbiome. And there are links in the description below to the studies and to the articles I used to put this presentation together. So it looks as though a few pinches of herbs and spices could possibly give your gut a healthy boost. Well, this is according to two separate studies from Penn State University in the USA. There are trillions of individual microorganisms living in the human stomach and the intestines, comprising of hundreds of thousands of species of bacteria, viruses and fungi. Collectively, these are known as the gut microbiome, and their importance to our health is so great that some researchers think it's now considered a major supporting organ. Indeed, some people have called the small intestine the second brain. Diet, exercise, medication and supplementation are just some of the factors that can influence the makeup of a healthy person's gut, which means each individual's gut community is unique. If your gut microbiome isn't fed and suitably nurtured, harmful microbes can proliferate, while symbiotic ones have more trouble with tasks such as dealing with our immune system and breaking down our food. Scientists are still trying to figure out what marks the healthiest gut communities, but as research progresses, they're starting to get a much better idea. Penny M. Kris-Etherton PhD and Distinguished Professor of Nutrition at Penn State University said, research has shown that people who have a lot of different microbes have better health and a better diet than those who don't have much bacterial diversity. While we commonly think of our diet in terms of the basics, such as greens and meats, a considerable amount of variation in our cultural and in our personal preference comes down to the way we add zing to our meals. Professor Kris-Etherton and her colleagues at Penn State are among the first in the world to study the effect of herbs and spices on the composition of the human gut microbiome. Let's take a closer look at the first study. 54 adult participants at risk of cardiovascular disease took part in a 4-week randomized control feeding study. During the trial, everyone stuck to the same general menu, which was designed to reflect the average American diet. However, some participants were asked to add 0.5 grams, which is about 0.2 ounces of spices to their meals, while others were asked to add 3.3 grams or 6.6 grams. The spice blend that they used included cinnamon, ginger, cumin, turmeric, rosemary, oregano, basil and thyme. And Americans, don't panic about my pronunciation, and don't worry, you still get aluminium wrong too. A control group, meanwhile, were asked to put none of these spices into their foods whatsoever. Fecal samples taken before and after the experiment revealed that the diets with more spices tended to show greater bacterial diversity. Professor Kris-Etherton said, it's such a simple thing that people can do. The average American diet is far from ideal, so I think everyone could benefit by adding herbs and spices. It's also a way of decreasing sodium in your diet, but flavouring foods in a way that makes them more palatable and delicious. These new findings support recent research that suggested herbs and spices are a natural prebiotic that feeds healthy bacteria in the human gut. In 2019, a randomized, placebo-controlled, double-blinded pilot study found that a 5-gram capsule of a spice blend containing cinnamon, oregano, ginger, black pepper and cayenne pepper triggered changes to the gut microbiome that were seen to be beneficial within weeks. In a more recent study, however, the spice blend was slightly different and was directly incorporated into the participants' daily meals. Those who ate meals with medium to high amounts of a spice, between 3/4 of a teaspoon and 1.5 teaspoons, saw a greater abundance of a specific gut bacteria called Rheumococcacia. This family of microbes is generally found in higher numbers in healthier human adults, although its exact role in the gut is at present uncertain. Those participants who ate spices in this study also showed lower numbers of pro-inflammatory molecules in the gut, indicating a possible anti-inflammatory effect. More research is needed to figure out exactly which spices are affecting the gut microbes and why. But that's not the only dietary supplement that seems to boost certain gut bacteria. Let's now take a look at the second study. A recent randomized control trial, also from Penn State, investigated the effects of peanuts on the gut for the very first time. The study took place over 6 weeks and included 50 adults, all on the same daily diet. At the end of each day, after dinner but before bed, participants ate either 28 grams of dry roasted or unsalted peanuts, or they ate a small sample of cheese and crackers. Let's take a look at the results of the second study. In the group snacking on nuts, as with the one eating spices in the first study, the healthy Rheumococcacia bacteria were significantly more abundant in the gut of the participants at the end. That said, there's still so much about the gut microbiome that researchers don't understand. There will need to be more studies to prove conclusively that spices and nuts actually do help the gut microbiome. But for now, adding a pinch of spice to your daily diet probably won't hurt. It might even help, and if nothing else, it will certainly add more flavour. Well, I hope you found that interesting or informative, hopefully both. This is the small array of spices that I use here in the Middle East to spice up my meals. I usually put them in the chilies and the curries that I make, and I pretty much always put them on the fish. I sometimes find that fish can be a little bit boring. I always did it for taste, but it's good to know now that doing this also improves my gut microbiome, especially the Rheumococcacia bacteria that's more prevalent in healthy human adults. This is also one of the downsides of the processed food catastrophe. People are now cooking at home with real food less and less. They're going out and they're eating processed food. Processed food is chunked full of things like sodium and monosodium glutamate just to improve the flavour, as well as artificial flavours to make it more palatable, because the processed food that we eat is actually garbage. Our body knows it's garbage, and the food manufacturers hide that by adding all these artificial flavourings. Let me know in the comments below, how often do you cook whole food from scratch at home and add spices that could improve your gut microbiome? I cook whole food every day. On the weekend I have one day where I have pizza, and that's it. I think that has made a massive difference to my health and wellness since I started doing that. I remember when I used to eat far more processed food, things out of tins and packets, and I know that my health has improved greatly. Let me know in the comments below then how often you cook at home, and do you start from scratch, and do you use spices, and what particular spices do you like to use?